interesting format right now. So that's supposed to be four of us with a moderator, but this, as you can see, there's no moderator. So no one would be moderating this talk. But what we're gonna talk today is we're gonna talk about liquid restaking. And since we have a person from Nectar here, which is liquid restaking protocol, right? Or it is even more.
It is even more actually. I mean, we have evolved from a liquid restaking. It actually Nectar never was a liquid restaking protocol. It was a restaking protocol, which is not exactly the same. Actually, the idea it was a liquid restaking protocol to build on top of us.
Okay.
So we were more on the symbiotic eigenlayer, let's say, on that level, conceptually in terms of architecture. And as of now, and apologies everyone because it's kind of it looks like I'm trying to sell my book here or something, but no, what we have done is actually move beyond risk-taking, and now it's more a decentralized marketplace, kind of grouping liquidity and operators together. So we have moved a little bit away from risk-taking in that sense. Risk-taking, you can still use Nectar to perform risk-taking duties, not proper liquid risk-taking, I would say, but it's more a marketplace than anything.
Okay. So my feeling at the moment actually is with all this restaking hype stuff, points and so on, I see a lot of projects. I see a lot of them, and to be honest, I'm personally lost in this world. What can we like? Can we do? I think most of you guys are feeling kind of lost with this restaking. Like, should I go to Puffer? Should I go there? Should I go native eigenlayer or non-native eigenlayer or whatever?
You are not alone, I can tell you. I mean, and I think the best thing that you can do is to use staking rewards because they are providing all the information that you can find out there.
Yeah, I mean, the restake is a very competitive space, right? And I guess for you guys, it must be like top of mind at Lido as well, right? Because like there are kind of competitors to Lido, like EtherFi, that do liquid restaking.
Oh, they're not competitors at all. I'll comment
Yeah,
on
I mean,
it.
this will be interesting. We can discuss maybe, yeah. But
Yeah.
Obviously, like Lido lost market share because of restaking as well, right? Because you don't do any restaking at Lido yet.
Well, that's a great point. Okay.
Sorry, I just want to bring some
No,
spice.
no,
in
no,
here,
no, no,
like-
no. I like how the discussion goes. I like how the discussion goes. So, we've talked about restaking, right, on the panels before, and the concept is as follows. So you have this basic risk on a staked capital, and then you think, oh, this risk is not enough. I want to have more risk and more rewards, which is perfect. I mean, this concept is actually amazing. What is, from my personal perspective, is even better is the ability to control this level. So, take EtherFi, for example, or any other protocol that takes ETH from you. They first of all stake this ETH on your behalf, and then they either decide on your behalf to which AVS this ETH would be delegated, so they control this level of additional risk. With Lido, situation is totally different, and I personally like it the most, for sure. But not because I'm a Lido contributor, but because I like algorithms and I like how things are built block by block. So with Lido, STETH was always and would still be a liquid staking token. This low risk, low reward thing that is super stable, like basically no risk at all. And then you can decide on your own if you want to have this more risk. Then you can go to one of the Lido Alliance members or to other protocols, say Mellow, and get this additional risk, or say Symbiotic, or any other protocol that would decide to build a model not on capturing ETH and then deciding on users' behalf how to control their risk. But instead, they would follow this initial path that they all initially followed, and then they decided, oh, we're gonna withdraw this ETH. And the reason is simple why they did so, because ETH staking is the only yield generating or the only reward generating thing at the moment. So my thinking here is there's, again, two models. One is when each and every risk, like starting from Ethereum staking and including AVS and all the services, are controlled by the same entity, or not by the same entity, by the same protocol, or you got the idea, by the same player. And the other model, which is more preferable from my side, is when you have multiple building blocks and you decide on your own if you want to go STEF only, or if you want to restake it once, or twice, or multiple times, or with some protocols. But it is you who control that. And from my perspective, that's why I'm saying that EtherFi is not a direct competitor to Lido. They chose different model, so they decided to control all the stake on the user behalf, while Lido decided to stay the base layer. And that brings us to like not in a competition, but in a different places in a three-dimensional space.
Yeah, I think long term the value proposition is very clear, obviously. But I guess what's interesting is on Eigenlayer there's almost no risk with restaking it because the slashing
And
is not
there's no
even
reward.
live and no rewards as well. But you have points and points on points and airdrops and everything. So I guess that's the only way how they can currently kind of compete with Lido in a sense, because there is not much additional risk at the moment yet in Eigenlayer, for example.
Indeed.
It's like no networks live and no AVS.
But one of the problems that comes with this model when a single entity controls all the native staking and restaking, take Eigenlayer as an example. They do not care much about decentralization, or at least they are not demonstrating how they care about it and what they are doing towards this direction. And the reason here is simple. They are willing to attract as much TVL as possible because they do need to have it, and they do care more about points and all the other stuff. But what we need to keep in mind is that at the end of the day, the basic staking, the Ethereum staking, is the most crucial thing. And what we are able to do as Lido contributors and what Lido is able to do as a protocol is to control this level of decentralization, to maintain the distribution between operators. You will never see such an evenly decentralized protocol as Lido now. So that's why I think that these roles, they indeed should be separated. Because if you're working on a base layer, you should take care of base layer. It's like feeding a cow that gives you milk. Why? I mean, you can kill this cow and only milk it once and then say points, okay. But this is not sustainable. So what's sustainable is to feed the cow and milk the cow. And it would be co-beneficial, I would say.
I mean, I mostly agree with you. I mean, I have to say. I mean, maybe the only difference or the only way that I see it different is in the sense that I really see it as different layers of risk. I think, but actually you pointed out perfectly. Lido is the base layer and the serves a purpose, and in my mind, it's more an optimization of technology that has been implemented throughout Ethereum, in a sense. Meanwhile, restaking is more an economical optimization of the way that is being implemented, at least by Eigenlayer and also by other agents within the ecosystem. So it's two completely different concepts. One is focused more on the technology and milking the cow, I mean, as you were saying, and the other one is more on how can I extract more value out of this thing, regardless of the technology in a say. Yeah, it's a little bit more. I mean, and coming back to the look at risk-taking tokens, and I think you raise a really nice point. The way that I see, I'm talking with EtherFi, I mean, talking about the EtherFi or Puffer or any other liquid risk-taking protocol. In my mind, they are more risk managers than other thing, and actually that is the reason why it's sometimes too confusing for everyone. Like, what is the difference between Puffer, between EtherFi, between Symbiotic, between Eigenlayer? Everybody can kind of try to put everything together and to think that everything is a little bit the same. First of all, there's different layers. As I was saying, to me, the base layer will be, I mean, obviously Ethereum. On top of that, Lido, Rocket Pool. This layer. On top of that, it will be Eigenlayer, Symbiotic, Karak, other things. And on top of that, it will be EtherFi, the liquid risk-taking tokens, which at the end of the day are the risk managers that they are trying to define what better the strategy on behalf of the user that dedicated tokens to them. So at the end of the day, and I'm fully aware that this shouldn't even be said, at least openly, because it's not the best approach, but in a sense, either Fi and Puffer, what they are is kind of somehow fund managers in a sense, because at the end of the day, they receive the delegated assets, they distribute their assets on the best possibilities, on the best options, and that is pretty much the job, and that is how they are making money. And in terms of sustainability, truth to be told, I have my doubts if it's going to be sustainable in the long term. But truth to be told, Eigenlayer has attracted a shit ton of money. So that is a good base layer in order to create a healthy ecosystem. So I think it's going to be fully dependent on how Eigenlayer distributes that money and those incentives among the network of ABSs, and if they are going to create something that is sustainable in the mid and the long term. The worst thing that I can see there is that Eigenlayer by itself is becoming a end-to-end ecosystem with all their ABSs, because it's feeding the ecosystem itself. It's not really that dependent on Ethereum, in a sense. So
Except
everything
for the
is
fact that it requires Ethereum.
yeah. Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, it's I mean, I fully agree with that. I think that is what is going to be interesting in the long term. That is kind of Eigenlayer is, in my mind, again, and this is just an opinion. It sort of tried to become a embedded layer within Ethereum, and now that is not an embedded layer within Ethereum. It's trying kind of to make its own Ethereum in a sense, so like its own ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, I think restaking and Eigenlayer and all the other restaking protocols are really interesting model with like infinite possibilities for like decentralizing basically every service that exists on the internet in a very easy fashion. That's like the vision for restaking. But I think it's also still too early to say that they have found product market fit necessarily yet. Like Eigenlayer said, they're like a four-sided marketplace. They bootstrap like the staking side, they bootstrap the operators. There are some ABSs, but it's heavily incentivized, and there's a lot of cloud and hype around Eigenlayer and restaking. That's why a lot of networks are using them as well. So I'm not sure if they're using it because of the hype or because of like actual kind of product market fit or not. That's very early to tell, I think, right? But I mean, theoretically, I think there's it can be a huge market and probably will. Yeah.
I mean, it is already. I mean, even if we are referring just to tokens, 7 billion is not a bad number. I mean, if you ask me.
Well, we are talking here about, again, we're measuring the market that is supposed to be way more than Ethereum. We are measuring it in Ethereum value locked. So this is probably the indicator of the fact that the market is still not mature enough, because the only thing we use to measure is like the basic asset. But the idea of restaking is to move it above and beyond. So we are not saying, oh, the size of a market is the amount of AVSs on board, or the amount of capital that this AVS do use, or the APR that they do provide. So I agree that the market here is still at the early stage, and just one thing. I mean, I'm not a moderator, but I do have this question, and I do want to ask it. We are talking about restaking a lot as a concept, but at the end of the day, in the name of the panel, we have this liquid restaking. And my question is, according to the analysis of what people do with STETH, it turns out that the majority of STETH is actually unnecessary liquid. So most of STETH is just held, is just stored somewhere, not used in DeFi, and so in most cases, there's no need for liquid staking token here. Basically, people just use it because it exists and it offers other benefits. So if we are talking about restaking, is there a necessity for liquid restaking? And what are the possible use cases? Especially given that segmentation and segregation between like different liquid restaking tokens. So you have a fragmented liquidity and all these things around. What's your take here?
Personally, is first of all, instead of talking about restaking, I love that you have pointed out before that we should be talking about shared security. And actually, that is what drives all the value to Ethereum, because at the end of the day, you are sharing Ethereum security. And that is why everything is measured on TVL terms. In terms of liquid restaking, I think is a little bit what you were explaining before and what I mentioned before about managing the risk. What the main purpose of a liquid risk-taking token is that the most of the users or most of the people that actually interact with different options within the shared security ecosystem, they don't have the capacity or they just don't want to have to pick each one and to have to be managing the risk every time. So at the end of the day, for them, it's way easier to delegate to someone to get that receipt token and to say, okay, that someone, that protocol, that whatever, is actually controlling or leveraging the risk or spreading the risk among different things, and I don't have to care that much. And obviously, it provides that possibility, having that liquid token, and it's something that you mentioned before that I think is the biggest use case for SGE, making that loop that, okay, I got my liquid staking token, I can take into a lending protocol, I can make that loop where I can extract higher value out of the token. Whether that should be done or if it is sustainable is another thing. I mean, we are kind of coming back to the same cycle again and again. But at the end of the day, that is what drives the market and what pushes the market forward. So
from your perspective, liquid restaking token is more of a different versions of a risk portfolios and representations of risk.
in my mind, yes, is the way I see that.
Okay, Mirko?
Yeah,
I really want to hear from you. You are a subject matter expert here.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of nuances to it actually, because you said like it's unnecessary liquid, right? Which is like a lot of SEs is not deployed in DeFi anywhere. It's just lying around. But I think there's also a psychological aspect. Like if you have something liquid in your wallet and it's there, that's a use case by itself. Like it really means you get something in return. And this is really cool as a staker. It's a great experience, right? You stake and you get something, so you have it. And just having the optionality, I think this is already a use case in itself. So I don't think it's unnecessary liquid. I think it's actually great, and that's also why a lot of people stake with Lido, for example, because they have this receipt token that they can use if they want to, but they can also not use it. They have the optionality. But it's showing on Etherscan with the price and everything. It's like, this is amazing. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for as well. That's why I also think for liquid restaking, it's obviously, this is also one of the use cases. Just having this optionality and being able to explore different use cases if you want to is already great. I think it gives people peace of mind as well, and yeah, like it's not locked. Like you have access to it. Like you don't need to unbond it or unstake it, and it takes a long time or something. It's always readily, immediately available to you, which I think is a great use case already.
Yeah, that's very cool. This is an explanation I've actually been looking for, because each time you ask people about like what liquid staking is, each and everyone will tell you something like I told you before, that this is the ability to use token in DeFi, but most people do not use it. But from the user experience perspective, yeah, that's really great when you see something in your wallet. So I have several like interactions with the DeFi protocols on some suspicious chains where they do not issue anything in return. And you should always check like what's going on there, what's going on. And
it's very scary. Like if you deposit tokens somewhere in a smart contract and then it's gone
and
like
get nothing in return. Even though I'm a smart contract developer and I like perfectly understand how it works, but having something in return is always good. It always makes you feel better.
And it's ultra liquid too, right? Like there's also the use case of being able to swap out immediately instead of unstaking.
If there's liquidity
which is the case for Lido and EtherFi as well. So that's also a great use case, obviously.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, anything else we want to talk? We have like 50 seconds. Let's do a final word.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole like liquid restaking is also going to be like I think like Renzo, they launched like USDC restaking on Solana recently, which I think this will also be very interesting to see like the whole space emerge beyond Ethereum, and also what you guys do at Nectar. Obviously, it's like it's way beyond like just restaking ETH into networks or something. It's a much grander vision, and I think that's what excited and what I would like to see much more of.
Yes, I mean, what can I say? I mean, in my mind, and is the path that we are going on, where we are heading, is precisely where actually the market is taking us, and is that now the market is way more mature than 4 years ago, 5 years ago, or even 10, obviously more than 10 years ago, and we have so many people and trying to interact together that everything is getting way more complex. And I think that is a beauty that we are going to to see here. That consolidation on different actors and the way that they coordinate and we make something that actually is practical and usable for everyone. I think that is what excites me the most and what we are going to see moving forward.
Cool. Yeah, my main takeaway from the whole discussions that we have today is that first of all, calling this idea shared security is a better way, and there's several reasons for it. This example that you've mentioned with Babylon and the Bitcoin, this is not actually restaking because Bitcoin has never been staked. But now Bitcoin is used as a security. Your example with USDC restaking, again, it is not restaking, it is using it as a shared security. So, guys, remember the word shared security. And when someone would tell you restaking, you should ask them, is it a shared security or what are you talking about?
What is normal staking? I mean, you stake it once. If you
Yeah,
stake
yeah.
USDC and it's slashable, then you're staking it, right?
Yeah, you mean if
But
you stake it
restaking it,
multiple times?
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah.
Just one caveat. We are already using share security in our docs, so I'm not going to go there. I'm not copying you. Just letting you know that we are already using that term because I always thought that it was the appropriate definition for the whole thing. Yep.
Cool, perfect. I think we did it great without moderator. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.